Breaking news today. Texas Democrats have left the state to block a Republican redistricting plan, effectively paralyzing the legislature and igniting a fierce debate over state sovereignty and political power. This move puts the future of congressional seats in jeopardy. Stay with us for updates.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports that Governor Abbott has sharply criticized Texas Democrats amid a heated redistricting feud, labeling them as cowards. He questions the integrity of elected officials who flee their state instead of facing a vote. As Texas Democrats exit, abandoning their responsibilities and the trust of their constituents, one must ask, is this an act of democracy or sabotage? Meanwhile, Governor Abbott remains steadfast, determined not to let partisan tactics alter the legislative framework. Ironically, while Democrats decry gerrymandering, they are accused of manipulating electoral maps in blue states with even greater impunity. This controversy goes beyond Texas. It's a critical battle for the integrity of representative government across America. Buckle up, folks.
It did have a sentence in there that said that the way the Constitution works enables a quorum break, but it didn't authorize it. Let me give you an easy example. An interstate highway enables you to be able to drive 100 miles per hour on that interstate highway, but you're not authorized to do it. And if you do it, there's going to be consequences for which you could be held into court. And that's exactly what we have with the quorum break here.
When lawmakers abandon their post to block the will of the people, they are not engaging in a noble act of resistance. They are neglecting their duties and attempting to subvert the constitutional process. The analogy is clear. Just as the possibility of a quorum break does not legitimize its use to halt government operations, speeding on the interstate does not make one a freedom fighter. It's simply unlawful with consequences. Democratic legislators fleeing Texas to avoid a vote are not champions of democracy. They are avoiding their responsibilities. This is not the essence of representative government. Texans elected these lawmakers to debate, argue, and vote, not to flee to states like Illinois or California, where they find political sanctuary and threats of retaliatory redistricting. This sets a dangerous precedent, especially since Democrats often criticize Republicans for employing similar political tactics in states like California and New York. Governor Abbott is justified in using every legal means to return these legislators and hold them accountable. The Texas Constitution mandates that a majority be present for legislative business to proceed. By deliberately avoiding this, these lawmakers are betraying the trust of the voters who sent them to Austin. The courts have consistently recognized that legislative chambers hold the authority to establish quorum rules and enforce attendance. This enforcement is not partisan overreach. It is a defense of the rule of law. What we are witnessing is not a principled stand for voting rights or minority representation, despite what some media outlets claim. It is a partisan attempt to maintain power despite changing political dynamics. With increasing support for Republican candidates among Hispanic and Black voters in Texas, Democrats are resorting to procedural tactics instead of appealing directly to the electorate. The hypocrisy is evident. Democrats gerrymander with precision and call it progress. When Republicans do the same, it is portrayed as a threat to democracy. Both parties engage in hardball tactics with redistricting, but only one side is willing to halt the legislative process and flee the state when outcomes don't align with their preferences. This issue extends beyond Texas. If blue states proceed with retaliatory redistricting, it could trigger a national conflict over congressional maps, escalating partisan gamesmanship. This is far from what the founders envisioned. State sovereignty means Texas should set its electoral boundaries without external interference or political maneuvers from other states. The bottom line is straightforward: to change the law, win elections, and fulfill your duties. Running away does not equate to leadership. It's an act of cowardice, and it's time for consequences to be enforced.
So listen, all this big talk and bluster by Democrat governors is nothing more than weak sauce, because the fact of the matter is they are bringing a gun to a gunfight, but they have no bullets because they lost their bullets when they engaged in redistricting and gerrymandering over the past decade. They have, because if you look at what the way lines are drawn in California, in New York, in Illinois, Massachusetts, where there are no Republicans whatsoever, they've run out of Republicans that they can move out of office.
Democratic governors in states like California, New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts have often threatened significant retaliation in the redistricting wars, yet their actions have already pushed out nearly every Republican. The congressional maps in these deep blue states are drawn so aggressively that Republicans barely maintain a presence. After years of fine-tuning their districts, these governors now resort to empty threats and political theater. This scenario highlights the pitfalls of one-party rule and the arrogance it breeds. Instead of promoting genuine competition and respecting diverse viewpoints, Democrats in these states have crafted districts to cement their dominance. Consequently, voters face limited choices, and the opposition is virtually wiped from contention. When Texas Republicans adjust their maps to reflect demographic shifts favoring them, including among Hispanic and Black voters, the Democrats' complaints seem insincere, given their track record. We are witnessing a national redistricting battle where both parties play hardball, yet only the Democrats claim moral high ground. The irony is that blue state governors, having maximized their partisan advantage, now have little room to maneuver. Their threats to redraw district lines are more about posturing than practical politics, as their states lack enough Republican targets. Such partisan mapmaking exacerbates polarization, erodes trust in electoral processes, and leaves many Americans feeling disenfranchised. Despite this, Democrats often portray their gerrymandering efforts as progressive while condemning Republicans for similar strategies. This double standard is clear to observers. If blue states continue to push for more redistricting, it will only perpetuate division and instability nationwide. Rather than intensifying these power struggles, states should strive for fairer, more competitive districts that offer voters real choices. Until then, expect more strategic maneuvers from Democratic governors, who, after years of manipulating electoral maps, have little left but rhetoric and a diminishing opposition.
And if you look at all the Republican states across the entire country, if we engage in this war of making sure that each state is going to draw their lines the way that the Democrat states have, Republicans are going to be able to pick up maybe as many as 25 seats. And then I'll add on top of that, with each passing census, it's the red states that are getting the population, the blue states that are losing population. We know mathematically that New York and California, they lost seats this last census. They're going to be losing more seats in the coming censuses because people are fleeing the leftist ideology of New York, of California, of Illinois, and they're coming to free states like Texas and Florida and Tennessee and others.
Republican states are poised for significant gains as population trends continue to favor states like Texas, Florida, and Tennessee, while New York, California, and Illinois see residents leaving due to high taxes, overregulation, and the consequences of progressive policies. This isn't just a shift in demographics, it's a clear rejection of leftist ideologies, prompting many to move away from these states. As a result, Republican states are not only growing in population, but also in political influence. If Republicans strategically approach redistricting, they could potentially gain up to 25 additional congressional seats, a direct result of population movements and constitutional reapportionment processes. Fox News has effectively highlighted these trends, though their coverage could benefit from a more rigorous analysis. The network adeptly points out the hypocrisy of Democratic governors and showcases the political shifts through visual storytelling like maps, charts, and interviews. The coverage could improve by exploring the legal nuances more deeply and including a broader spectrum of expert opinions, particularly on constitutional issues related to interstate sanctuary offers and state authority limits. Also, while Fox News rightly criticizes the partisan nature of Democratic redistricting in states like Illinois and New York, it should also examine the redistricting processes and legal standards more comprehensively across different states to provide viewers with a more balanced perspective. Although the network's focus on Republican viewpoints is understandable, incorporating insights into historical redistricting battles, judicial precedents, and legislative limits would enrich the narrative. Fox News' commitment to challenging Democratic obstruction and defending state sovereignty, like Texas's right to self-governance, is crucial in balancing mainstream media narratives, engaging more directly with constitutional scholars and scrutinizing the long-term implications of escalating redistricting conflicts could enhance their coverage. Despite these areas for improvement, Fox News' focus on state sovereignty, the rule of law, and the pitfalls of progressive policies remains both accurate and vital. The growing Republican advantage underscores a broader rejection of progressive governance. Each family that relocates from California to Texas or business that moves from New York to Florida represents a vote of confidence in limited government, economic freedom, and personal responsibility. These choices are shaping the future of the country, positioning Republican states at the forefront of growth and prosperity. As the redistricting battle unfolds, it's clear that the tide is turning, signaling a shift away from blue state dominance.
There are some out there that are in blue states, they're in swing districts, they're worried about if the blue states do ramp this up, they're going to lose their seats. One of them is Congressman Mike Lawler. He's a Republican out of New York. He says it creates a situation where you're going to lose blue state members, which over the long haul are critical to keeping the majority.
Republicans in blue states, such as Congressman Mike Lawler from New York, are under increasing pressure as Democratic leaders consider aggressive redistricting in response to Republican gains elsewhere. This strategy threatens the balance in states where one-party dominance limits competition and reduces voter choices. The ramp-up in gerrymandering by blue state officials typically targets moderate and conservative representatives, jeopardizing bipartisan cooperation. Congressman Lawler exemplifies this. He represents a district that marginally favors Republicans in a state where partisan map drawing has stifled genuine competition. This political maneuvering not only undermines fair representation, but also destabilizes the local economy, discouraging investment, driving away businesses, and harming working families. In regions like the Hudson Valley, residents already struggle with high taxes and overregulation, and further political manipulation only exacerbates their frustration. These redistricting battles inject uncertainty into local economies. Businesses are reluctant to expand or hire amid such unpredictability, and families face higher property taxes and diminished public services as leaders prioritize power over economic solutions. Imagine a constantly changing map of New York's congressional districts, altered not for demographic reasons, but to secure political advantage. This results in a confusing patchwork that serves politicians rather than the public. The consequences are felt across various sectors. Small businesses in suburban and rural areas lose their voices in Washington as moderate Republicans are edged out. Homeowners receive less federal support for infrastructure and disaster relief, and even education funding suffers, replaced by party loyalists detached from community needs. This leads to fewer advocates for property tax relief, less effort to control living costs, and reduced access to federal grants. As blue states intensify their focus on one-party rule, families and businesses migrate to states with lower taxes, fewer regulations, and a more balanced political climate. This isn't just a demographic shift. It's a market reaction to progressive policies that prioritize political gain over prosperity and freedom. Congressman Lawler's decision to run for re-election, despite these challenges, highlights the resilience of those committed to genuine representation. This moment is crucial for voters to understand the long-term consequences of partisan redistricting. When politicians rig the system, the repercussions are widespread. Higher taxes, fewer jobs, and a government that becomes increasingly unaccountable. That's another interesting spin by the news media. Texas Democrats have fled their responsibilities, claiming nobility and evasion rather than engaging in debate, all while receiving applause from the media. This isn't an act of courage, it's an act of sabotage. Republicans are merely playing by the rules that Democrats themselves champion in other states, yet they face criticism for it. Under the last administration, Biden and Harris overlooked chaos, whereas President Trump worked to restore order and uphold the voters' will. This raises a critical question: who truly upholds democratic values? Clearly, it is not those who flee from accountability. We look forward to reading your comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you on the next one.